In today's video, I'm going to talk about whether you should build your desktop computer or buy your desktop computer. So the short answer is you're going to buy. And for most people, it does not make sense to build your own computer. I recently built two computers, one for me, one for my 8-year-old daughter, and they're very similar. I want to share some of my experiences. So first, the pros and cons of building versus buying. By building a computer, you can theoretically save some money, possibly, yeah. So I live very close to Micro Center, the desktop computer I recently built. I got returned components, used components from Micro Center for very low cost. That said, the saving is very little because you can get a reasonably spec computer for slightly more money. I don't think you can save too much because the components you're buying are retail package. They're much more expensive than the bulk volume purchase. So you may save a little bit of money, but not by too much. The benefit of buying directly is, of course, is save time. You can save a lot of time. If you value your time, you should buy. Of course, if you're a student, even if you have nothing else to do, you just want to kill some time, of course you can build your own computer. The second benefit, I think the very big benefit about building is that customization. For example, both my computers has a lot of RAM, 32 gig of RAM, Ryzen 5 36X and Ryzen 5 36XT, the CPUs, and I used liquid cooling for both computers, even though I'm not a heavy gamer, because I prefer the quietness. The stock fan that came with the Ryzen 5 3600X, that was ridiculously loud. That's why I didn't even use the stock fan that came with the Ryzen 5 3600XT, the new CPU, the second build. I didn't unpack the CPU cooler. I just used liquid cooling because it's much quieter. So this kind of customization is difficult to get when you buy. But you should be able to get something reasonably close. You may need to replace a few components, but other than that, you should be able to, for most consumers, you should be able to buy a computer that is very close to what you need. Not 100%, but close. Now, another benefit of building your own computer is to ensure quality. There are certain vendors, I wouldn't mention who, they sell very low-cost desktop computers but use very inferior components inside their computers. And I think this kind of vendor, they prey on people who are not very technical savvy, because for most average consumers, oh, this i7 processor, oh, this is a 32 gig of RAM. But hey, those RAMs can be very different. 32 gig of RAMs, you can have very high quality RAM with a low latency or low quality RAM. So that kind of vendor, a single vendor, I won't name it, but it kind of preys on people who are not very technical savvy. They put inferior components in their computer. So if you build your own computer, you know what you're doing, you will guarantee you get very high quality components. Like the desktop I just built for my daughter, it uses a 1 terabyte of M.2 Intel solid state drive. It boosts almost instantaneously. Every application launches instantaneously, games and stuff. So you can guarantee you're using high quality components if you build your own computer. Also, you can recycle some old components like the PSU, computer case, a bunch of cables. You can definitely use them. And by far the biggest advantage is learning about computer hardware. Because I built these two computers, I never built a computer with liquid cooling before, so I really learned about new things about this new hardware, which is a good experience. If you're eager to learn, by all means, you should build your own computer because it's not difficult at all. And usually the computer that was built by me lasts much, much longer than the crap I bought from outside. I bought two desktop computers before, during the past 10 years, I think. And both are pretty crappy from the same vendor. Very low cost, but very crappy components. So I no longer buy desktops, I just build my own. The benefit of buying, of course, you get a Windows operating system. I use almost exclusively Linux, so Windows operating system doesn't matter to me, and my laptop does have Windows. There's guaranteed compatibility between components because they're already put together. Give you one story. The computer I just built, it has liquid cooling, but the power cable of the fan is a little bit short. I have to plug that thing onto my motherboard's CPU fan power supply, and because the cable is kind of short, the cable is right above my RAM. If I want to remove the RAM, I have to unplug the cable first, which is kind of hassle. Yeah, not a deal breaker, but just when you buy everything wholesale, everything's guaranteed to fit into each other. You don't have the cable being a little bit too short, that kind of issue. Another thing is like my video card is 8 gigabyte of DDR5 RX 5700, and that video card is pretty long. And the micro ATX board, even though by advertising it should be able to accommodate like 315 millimeter of video card, but in fact it doesn't, because once you plug in the video card, you still need some clearing, right, to manage your cable, manage the fan, the liquid cooler. You can't just have a super long video card. You won't have room for other components. So usually when you buy something wholesale, the computer case, your video card, everything, their size, there should be no incompatibility. So that's a big concern. You may buy components and then you have to return. Last thing is the warranty, but I have built multiple computers. The only crappy stuff are purchased. The stuff I build actually very high quality. It runs forever. Like computer that I built like 12 years ago still runs today, but I just scrapped it because the i5 750, the first generation i5 CPU, just way too old. Yeah, too slow. Okay, so that's my talk today. So for most people, buy your stuff, and you may replace a few components. But if you want to learn about computer hardware, build all you want to customize, build your own. And I can guarantee you it does not save money. The time you spent on building the computer far exceeds the money you saved, unless, of course, you're a homeless person who have nothing to do. Yeah. Okay, that's my video. Thank you.